1, I asked you to solve this by graphing. I guess you might want a ruler, huh? If I want you to solve by graphing, what do you have to do?
Y equals mx plus b.
Alright, we need y equals mx plus b form so that we are able to graph it. So first, I'm going to subtract over my x. So negative y equals negative x plus 1. Divide by negative 1. Y equals x minus 1. So when I graph this, my y-intercept is negative 1. Slope is 1. So up 1 over 1. And these are our lines. Okay. Now we do the second one. So subtract our x. So 2y equals negative x plus 4. Divide by 2. So y equals negative 1 half x plus 2. We start at 2. Slope is negative 1 half. So down 1, over 2, or up 1 and back 2. Then we are looking for the point they meet. You do have to go ahead and tell me that. A couple of you on the test did all the work. You drew the graph. You just didn't write down where they meet. So what would that be? What's that point? Somebody can tell me what order pair that is.
2, 1.
Thank you. All right. Number 2, substitution. Not your favorite method, but we can do it. So our direction said solve number 2 by substitution. The biggest thing for substitution, you can solve for any variable, but this one, the second one, is already y equals. So I know what my y is. I'm going to replace that in the first equation. So 4x plus my y, which is 3x minus 4, equals 3. All right, combine like terms. 4x plus 3x is 7x. Minus 4 equals 3. Add over the 4, so 7x equals 7. Then x is 1. Now, we need to do what? Somebody can tell me what the next step is.
You put your x into problem.
So you can plug it into either equation. The easiest one is probably the bottom one. So 3 times 1 minus 4 equals y. 3 minus 4 equals y. So y is negative 1. So my point is 1, negative 1. right. Next up, elimination. This is one you guys are doing very well on. The idea with elimination is we want to add these equations together and get something to cancel. So we need one of the variables to have opposite coefficients. So what would I multiply the first one by? Or either one, I guess. Which one do you want to multiply? Second one times -5. Okay. So the first one didn't change. Second one is -5x plus 10y equals -70. So then if I add these together, positive 5x and negative 5x cancel. 3y plus 10y is 13y. Equals -52. Divide our 13. -52 divided by 13 is? Right, so now I know y, so I can go back and plug it in. If I just go to the first equation, 5x plus 3 times -4 equals 18. So 5x minus 12 equals 18. Add our 12. So 5x equals 30. Divide and x is 6. My answer is order pair 6, -4. So that's what we just finished taking a test over. This is very similar. Those were the first 3 questions on our class notes. Guess what the first 3 questions on your assignment today are? Like these. Guess what the first 3 questions on your final are? Like this. Okay, I'm not trying to trick you. I'm preparing you guys exactly what we are going to cover. Any questions about solving the system of equations? Let's talk about just solving regular equations. You guys have gotten pretty good at this, so this should be fairly easy for us. This is kind of where we started this year. When I am solving this equation, in this case I'm trying to get n by itself, what's the opposite of dividing by 6? So we multiply by 6 on each side. So we have -3 plus 2n equals -42. We add our 3. So we have 2n equals -39. Divide the 2. -39 over 2, you could give me a decimal or you could just keep it as a fraction. It doesn't work out evenly. But that's okay. We don't only have to have nice, pretty answers. All right, number 5. If I wanted to solve that one, what would I need to do first? -9. Okay. Try and solve for y. What's the opposite of multiplying by 3/4?
Dividing.
Divide by 3/4. When you put it in your calculator, just make sure you put the 3/4 in parentheses. And what does that give you? You guys can tell me. I'm not gonna.
-20.
Thank you. Okay. Number 6. What would I do first here? Distribute. If you need to, when we start getting into the more complicated ones, if it helps, you can draw a vertical line just to help you keep track of what's on each side. So if I distribute, we get 3a minus 12 plus 2a equals, over here, 5. We have to distribute the negative, so it becomes a plus 5a and a minus 2. Combining like terms, since these are on the same side, we just put them together, so that's a 5a minus 12. Over here, we can do the 5 minus 2, so 3 plus 5a. What happens when I subtract over this 5a? Cancel. So we get negative 12 equals 3. Does negative 12 equal 3? No solution. All right. One more equation to solve. What would I have to do here? Cross multiply. So that means you take 4 times the x minus 6 equals 7 times the x. We distribute our 4, so that's 4x minus 24 equals 7x. Then what? Minus 7. Would it be okay if I subtracted the 4 instead, just so I have all the x's on one side? You could do it either way, but this will be a little bit faster. Then we divide by 3. So we get x to be negative 8. So, what do you think the next 4 questions on your final are? Equations! Look at that. All right. Any questions about solving equations? The last thing I want to cover today is solving some inequalities, and then that will be our stopping point. So we'll pick up again on Monday with the next chunk. Solving inequalities, we usually solve them and we graph it on a number line. So solving it is just like solving an equation. The only thing to remember is if you multiply or divide by a negative, what happens? It flips the inequality. Otherwise, it's everything like normal. So I would start by distributing my negative 8. So we get negative 264 greater than negative 56m minus 40. Then what would we do?
Add 40.
If I divide by negative 56, my inequality is going to flip because I divided by a negative. Then negative 224 divided by negative 56 is what?
Negative 4.
Positive. If you don't like how this is written, you can flip it, but you flip that inequality with it. So this means m is greater than 4. So on my number line, how do we know if it's an open or closed circle?
No line.
Right. If there's no line underneath, we keep it open. Greater than? Yes. So we have an open circle at 4 and a line going to the right. Number 9, what would we do?
Add 10.
r divided by 6 is greater than or equal to 3. Opposite of dividing by 6 is,
Multiplying.
so r is greater than or equal to 18. So when I graph that one, because it had an equal to, my graph will have a closed circle at 18. And it's again greater, so it goes to the right. All right, just a couple more. And we talked about and or inequalities. Or are essentially just two separate problems. We're going to solve and graph them each separate. So for this first one, the n plus 2 is less than or equal to negative 2. We would just start subtracting our 2. So n is less than or equal to negative 4. Open or close circle? Closed. Less than would go to the left.
Did you finally ask for it? I got an email this morning.
Thank you. All right, the other ones, 5n is greater than 10, what would we do? Divide the 5, so n is greater than 2. So that would be open or closed circle.
Open.
Open, going to the right. So the ors, you really get two separate pieces on your graph. Okay, the and, we should have a graph in between two pieces, or in between two endpoints. So when I look at this, it's really one big inequality. So if I'm trying to get k by itself, what would we do first?
Add the 3 to all.
Yes, but we have three parts. We have the left, the right, and the middle. So I'm adding 3 to every single part. So I get negative 72 is less than or equal to negative 9k. Is less than or equal to negative 36. Then what do we do?
Divide 9 still.
And flip both of them.
Yes, because I divided by a negative, all of my inequalities flip. Okay, we have equal to's, which put closed circles. We have a 4, we have an 8. What this says is k is smaller than 8 but bigger than 4. It's in between the two of them. All right, any questions there? The last two, we are not solving anything, we're just writing an inequality. So just want to see, can we take words and write an inequality for it? We will be here in at least 24 days. So we have a variable. At least means what?
24 days or more.
Would it be, we're looking for an inequality. So we have an x, we have a 24. So is it less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, or equal to?
Greater than or equal to.
At least means it can be 24 or more. So x is greater than or equal to 24. And number 14. 7 less than. Less than means subtract. And it's one that tells us we're flipping the order. So we're subtracting 7. The product. What does product mean? Multiplication. A number and 5. So I have 5 times some number, so that's my x. Is at most. What would at most mean?
Less than or equal to.
Less than or equal to. It can't be bigger. 10. All right. So, do not put this away yet, because you're doing problems similar. So if you keep your notes out when you're looking at your homework. Once I give this to everyone, I'm going to tell you which part of it you have to do today, because this is for the next few days. All right. We are doing 1 through 14 on this review.